You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Michael, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
And thank you for joining us once again, back with your friends at Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Hey, my name's Jordan Lowe.
I'm Cliff Barnes.
I'm the illustrious Michael K. Easton.
And I'm special guest.
Seth Rogen, y'all.
Welcome to episode 249.
249.
Are we sure? Have we done the math? Did the math get double checked, or are we just
I'm pretty sure.
like back
We're
of the
winging
envelope
it.
math?
We're winging it.
I think you need to go back and count all the episodes again to make sure that that is 249.
If we did that, I'm pretty sure it's not.
And then tomorrow I'm going to call you and recertify that that is 249.
Yeah, we'll count it again next week.
There is a lawsuit pending that this is not actually 249.
Yeah.
But I need you to believe me. It is 249.
Michael's hair dye is dripping down his face.
His beard.
That's printer
Beard
ink.
dye.
It's printer ink running down.
Well, you know, as they say in
That reference might be outdated by the time this comes out.
Oh, for sure. We have totally exposed ourselves. Do you know how far back in the news cycle that's going to be by the time this episode comes out?
Yeah.
We should start this episode over.
But we don't do that.
Okay.
One take.
That's how we get the 250 near. That's
don't
how we
stop
get
for
the
anything.
nearly 250 episodes. Is never restarting anything.
We
for any
just
reason.
keep on trucking.
Is our refrigerator making heinous noises? We don't
Probably.
care. Push
Probably.
through.
Just keep
Is
going.
Michael here? Is he not for a year? Who? Keep on trucking.
That's right.
We don't have time to check on him.
I just magically show back up like nothing ever happened.
We don't talk about that year.
It's like that kid on that show that like he's a character on a show and
remember
he
that.
just like disappears and no one talks about him again.
Chuck?
Cunningham. Well, let's not travel down that path.
Yeah. Fall down that hole again.
Hey, is Pluto TV cost anything?
No, it's free. You can I have it on my Roku.
Yeah, I do too.
I've got the apps on there. I just didn't know if it was something I needed to download. It's
There's
free.
a couple versions of those like floating around right now that are free.
But you're telling me there's going to be around the clock Family Ties and Happy Days.
That's what I'm telling you. And you guys
Sunday, Monday, happy day.
Happy Days, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Wednesday, happy day.
Wow.
I told
Close
you
up the
guys.
shop. We did it.
Yeah, I told you guys the other day that Podbean sent us an email letting us know we can now run multiple shows off the same feed. Okay, so here's your opportunity to do a spinoff. It'll, Ka-Pow Loves Chachi or whatever you want to call it.
Wow, we so don't love Chachi.
Just ask-
Joni loves Ka-Pow-chi.
Yeah. Here's your chance.
We already did it, though. We already talked about it. Oh, my gosh.
I started rewatching Community.
Ugh.
I don't know if it's new to Prime or not. I don't know if it just came on there or whatever, but I just saw it on Prime and started rewatching it. And Abed makes some kind of reference to jumping the shark, and Troy gets mad at him. He's like, "Did you know there's an episode where he actually jumps a shark, and it's the best one?" Like he gets so angry at Abed for using the phrase "jump the shark" because that's the best episode.
That's funny.
I started going back and watching Rick and Morty from episode 1, just looking to see if there's little things I missed here or there because they dropped the rest of I think season 4, and so I watched all those. So I was like, I'm gonna go back and see if this is good at episode 1 like I thought it was, and it still seems to hold up. But I mean, if you want to really turn that nostalgic dial way back, since you guys have been watching Happy Days, you guys like made me think about some old shows, and started to do a deep dive back into Cheers. That when I was a little kid, when it first came out, I was too young to enjoy it. Like it was something my parents watched, and I was like kind of annoyed by it. But I remember bits and pieces like as I got older. But I am here to tell you that as soon as that show started with episode 1, they hit it running. Like the whole cast, like with a lot of new shows, like when they first start out, it's not kind of jiving, and they're trying to like figure out, who their characters are and if they work correctly with each other. Where this just right out the gate, everyone is on point. Like, I mean,
yeah, I had went back and watched the first episode not too long ago, and you're right. It does just it's doesn't really have a beginning to it. Mm-mm. It's kind of like it's always been, you're set into this world that's always been around. They already know each other,
and it doesn't really change for the whole run of the show. That it starts out like doing exactly what they do the whole time.
Yeah.
All 265 episodes.
Yeah, the only difference was the only character it really introduces is Diane.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm still, after all these years, I still laugh. I'm laughing rewatching these episodes, and they're entertaining. And the only thing that really changes is Ted Danson's hair. Like, I mean, that first episode, that was something else. I mean, that was a lot of hair.
Mm-hmm. And he kind of has it like combed over, like a part.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a big thing. It's a good show. Turns out, Cheers, good show.
Still holds up.
That's a limb we're willing to go out on.
We'll do it.
Well, speaking of timely breaking news that we don't have, that'll be old by the time you hear it, a couple movie things dropped. So literally just before we went on the air, I saw they confirmed Deadpool 3 is going forward with Marvel Studios and Disney, because that was kind of up in the air. What would Disney do with this R-rated Deadpool character? So it has been confirmed. It's been confirmed it's going to have an R rating. Ryan Reynolds is back. There's no director confirmed yet, but it will have new writers. It's a sister duo, Wendy and Lizzie Molyneux, who have been writers on Bob's Burgers for several seasons. And they are creators of the new animated show coming to Fox called The Great North. They've been around a bunch of commercials for that. So Bob's Burgers has, that kind of pop culture humor. I could see that working. Who knows?
Very good show.
Could you imagine them trying to replace Ryan as Deadpool? I mean,
no.
I just feel like they're going to be in a position of people are going to be watching to see if they keep it at that level of pushing the envelope. So anything less than the extreme ridiculousness that came out of the first two is they're going to be accused of softening it up. So it's almost like they're going to have to go further. I'm kind of curious how this plays out.
I don't know that, we pay attention to this stuff, but does the vast majority, do the people watching this know the difference? They see the red Marvel logo. Is there any difference between the Marvel Studios and just the Marvel production, between the Fox and the X-Men? Like, do they even know any of this stuff or care?
No, they do not.
Not at all.
Nope.
We got the confirmation that Black Panther 2 is starting production in July 2021. They said, again, Ryan Coogler is back to direct. And they have said there's no plans to have like a CGI Chadwick Boseman or do any kind of trickery to work Chadwick Boseman into it. So there's nobody knows what the plot's going to be, or will it be Shuri taking over the mantle, or what it is going to be. But it's definitely moving forward in some way.
Man, wouldn't it be great if somehow we could get from here to there and not hear anything? I would love to go into that
And not
theater
know.
and not know what they end up doing, but we're gonna know everything by then.
Mhm.
Yeah, Thor Ragnarok was on TV the other day, and it was the scene where they introduced Hulk. And I remember thinking, like, how amazing would that be if you didn't know Hulk was behind that door? Like,
Yeah.
that would have
Yeah.
been such a great moment.
But it was in every commercial and every trailer, and
Yeah. I mean, I listened to a guy talk that he had not known that but he avoids every trailer, and I'm like, that's the way to do it. But I don't know how you couldn't be on Twitter.
That's not a terrible sacrifice, probably.
Yeah, let's go to Parlor.
We already have the villain has been cast for Black Panther 2. Tenoch Huerta. He's a Mexican actor. He's most famous from the Narcos series. So it hasn't said who he's playing, but the villain has been cast, and the movie is going into production in a couple months.
So do you know of a?
I couldn't place a specific villain he could be. Black Panther doesn't have the deepest bench for arch enemies or anything.
That's why I thought maybe there was some obvious thing. I certainly don't know. Huh. Well, that's exciting because I was wondering. I'd heard Kugler say that he had a bunch written or whatever. Now he was going to scrap a lot of it. So.
I mean, there's so many Marvel movies. They could have just said, "Well, that was a tragedy. Let's just not do it too."
Yeah.
That would have been just as easy a solution. So they must have some good idea.
Money.
It's not just motivated by the money.
Yeah, smelling that money.
And of course, the biggest news we just got: we're getting Wonder Woman 1984 on Christmas Day, streaming on HBO Max.
Yes.
HBO Max.
After many delays. It is hitting international markets a week before on December 16th. So if you live somewhere that's like a first world country that's like civilized and
coronavirus
has things like functioning movie theaters, you'll get it on December 16th. But if you're stuck in the US, you'll get it on the 25th. If there's theaters opened, it's hitting whatever theaters are out there, but then it's also coming to HBO. And it will only be
I'm sorry.
It will only be available to stream for a month. So it's just a temporary thing.
Oh, I did not know that.
It's not just going to be on there forever. You get a 1 month window.
They are something.
But it doesn't cost extra like the Disney Plus does.
Oh, HBO has a problem. I don't know if anybody's actually following. There's all these. We've got 800 streaming things we're doing, but I mean, I'm pretty happy with HBO. You're enjoying it, right?
Yeah. I like the content as far as the original programming, but there is a lack of course, right now of new movies because there are no new movies to put on the channel.
Right. They were talking. They've been going back and forth about what they were going to do with this Wonder Woman movie for the last year, and it's like. Like, guys, you're going to have to do something because who knows how it will come across in a few more months. Right. It may seem quaint here pretty soon, and besides, I don't know if anyone realized that HBO Max is like an epic fail. It's a failure. They're no Disney Plus.
No.
So if they want, I don't know how they waited this long to make the decision. I'm kind of surprised this whole take it off a month later. Well, I don't know what the deal is with that, but they're hoping like heck that people sign up because of Wonder Woman and then just stay signed up.
Mm-hmm.
So they better have something else. I did see that they announced today that the Last of Us thing was ordered to series. That's going to be the next big thing to series on HBO that I see coming, because it was just such a huge video game series hit, so it's definitely a thing now.
Well, they also have the DC stuff coming, those shows. are coming over from DC Universe, and they're we haven't talked about this, but
I'm sure that'll just drag in billions of people.
Well, that new they're coming out with that new Green Lantern series now that's supposed to be all the main characters. I think it's going to be it's set in different time periods.
Yeah, it's going to have the original Alan Scott and Guy Gardner and
that's cool. But for my point is,
you're talking about the general masses.
HBO was already a thing. They had like 35 million subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, okay, now we're doing HBO Max. We're going to do this new thing and buy everything. We're going to have Friends. We're going to spend $500 million just on South Park, just to have South Park on there. They paid $500 million. They're just spending money everywhere. Disney Plus, they just have not had a hit. Hey, HBO has not had a hit.
Yeah.
That is just like, they do not have a Mandalorian. And Disney Plus has 75 million subscribers. HBO went from 35 million subscribers to 39 million subscribers.
Yeah, I'm talking about people not knowing the difference. Like, people didn't. What was HBO Max? They already knew what HBO was. That's Game of Thrones. What's HBO Max? There's nothing to set it apart.
Right.
To make it something new.
Be confusing that there's still HBO Now, or whatever. It's like, stop.
Well,
all of that.
That's
Quit
my
doing
main,
that.
Yeah, that's my main complaint. Is we signed up for HBO Max through our Hulu account because we already had HBO. Well, they don't make everything on HBO Max available on the HBO Max hub in Hulu. So there's some stuff I have to watch on my freaking phone to watch it because Roku can't agree and get an app with
I
HBO
saw
Max.
they cut a deal. It is coming to Roku within a couple weeks. I think. I didn't see it. I saw an article about that.
No, it wasn't Roku though. It was like Fire Stick or something.
It was Amazon Fire Stick, yeah. And
I could have swore I saw a different article about
it. It could have been something very recent, but I know it was Amazon this week. And then and like I said, it's the only app I don't have on PS5. It's like HBO needs to get their crap together because nobody's going to subscribe if they have to fight to watch this stuff.
If you have an iPhone, you can Airstream to Roku. Like you can.
Yeah, I can cast it from my phone to my television. Yeah, I know.
Nobody wants to
do that.
I just think that they're screwing themselves, and they spent all this money and didn't gain anybody.
Yeah.
And I actually like what they've done. I
like the channel, but
I like the app, and everything, but it's like it's got to work, and they got to get a hit.
And like you said, we're paying $11.99 for HBO Max, $6 for Disney Plus, and Disney Plus has a button on my new remote of my new television I just bought.
Exactly.
That says Disney Plus.
That's what on the PlayStation remote I got. It's got Disney Plus, Netflix, Spotify, and something else. But I was just like, HBO can't afford to put one on here. They don't even have a dang app on here.
They'll send you a sticker in the mail.
Yeah.
And yeah, I saw a figure the other day. I don't remember what it was, but how deep in debt AT&T is right now, how leveraged they are buying all this content and absorbing all these companies, and it's all gonna start rolling downhill. Like there's been more firings at DC Comics. I'm sure there's been shakeups. I'm sure people are gonna get fired because of how slow the rollout of this Max has been. So yeah, AT&T as the corporate umbrella is in huge trouble. So somewhere down the ladder, HBO's feeling it as well, I'm sure.
I was going to ask you guys, well, I forgot when we were talking about Disney, but does anybody have trouble with their Disney Plus? The worst app I have for stuttering is Disney. If anything super action goes on The Mandalorian, I need to just pause and let it buffer. So it's just that app. It's not. I've got great internet.
I've had that problem a lot of times with Netflix. but not Disney Plus.
Well, I Googled it today because I wanted to see what the deal was, and it's specifically Disney Plus people are having trouble with. I
know certain brands of television, smart TVs are not compatible with Disney Plus. I know Samsung has problems with it, and there's another brand too that I constantly see on Reddit where people they can't get it to work or whatever.
I would say this is one of those deals with it doesn't communicate well with PlayStation.
Mm-hmm. We're living in the future. How are these little bugs still things that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
We used to get TV over an antenna. We moved rabbit ears to get the TV, and we're so light years beyond that, and we're still.
Let's go back to rabbits. I agree.
What's the same?
One more. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Just one more thing about Disney Plus. Competing with Wonder Woman, Pixar's Soul is coming out on Disney Plus the same day, Christmas Day.
Yes.
So we're gonna have two theatrical releases to watch on Christmas Day: Wonder Woman on HBO and Soul on Disney Plus.
I love it because we win. We win with this competition.
Yeah, we've already paid for that. We're going to get to watch that. I am a little excited because whether the reviews weren't through the roof, but we're going to be able to rent Tenet or whatever in December. So that's the movie we didn't get to see this summer. We wanted to see. And Coming to America was announced. Coming to the number 2 America was announced. Amazon Prime said they're going to put it out in March, beginning of March. March 5th, it will be on Amazon Prime. So that's cool.
That's cool. We win again.
Yes. Since I mentioned Last of Us, I did want to say, none of you played that game, right? Either one, right? But do you know the characters or whatever that Joel and Ellie, there's the 40-some-year-old guy with a beard and the young girl. And I remember the controversy when it started out in beginning of this past decade where they were making it and they felt like the likeness of the girl was Ellen Page, that they'd ripped off Ellen Page. I remember it was a controversy because she had a video game coming out. They used Ellen Page motion capture and everything to make Beyond Two Souls video game, which wasn't a big hit or anything, but they kind of made the Ellie look like her. And anyway, I just wanted to predict. I don't know if I have a prediction and then who I wish they would cast for the girl. But prediction, I don't know how, because he is cast in everything, I don't know how Joel is not going to be played by Josh Brolin. He always plays that guy, So I see Josh Brolin as Joel, and who I'd like to see, but she may be too old by then. But that Caitlin Dever would be a good Ellie. But like I said, by the time they get going, I don't know how much they're going to want to make her young. But there's been no casting news. I haven't heard anything. But I'm excited to see who they cast because I think it's going to be a big show. I'm excited. We watched A Big Thing. Came out this week on HBO, by the way.
HBO
Max.
Not have
got maybe this got him some subscribers.
Yeah, it was worth it.
The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion.
Oh my The last time we were here, we cleared this place out and we cried.
How crazy is it walking in here?
The good old days.
The good old days.
Good old days. Look at this.
We're missing our TV.
That was with the Hillary, will you marry me?
Now this is a story all about how
Did
my life
everybody
got
see it?
turned upside down, and I'd like to take a minute
Michael,
to
did you
say
see
right
it?
there.
I saw most of it. Unfortunately, it was after working many, many hours, and I fell asleep halfway through.
Okay.
So welcome, everybody, back to the set where a big chunk of our lives were lived out. And when I first walked on this set, you know, you just don't, you don't realize how much life gets spent at work.
Yeah.
And it's just a beautiful thing for us that this turned into a real family and not work. Right. You know.
Well, I don't know if you were there. Were you there for it? We had a trending hashtag. It came out because halfway through the episode, we got what we didn't even know we needed. Until you're sitting there, you're like, this is awkward. Just when you're starting to feel it creep up on you, you've already had it in the back of your head. You know, you think, man, this is weird that she's not there, and they're not saying anything. And then finally, he brought up Aunt Viv.
OG Aunt Viv.
OG Aunt Viv. And I was like
right before that, that's where I fell asleep.
Yeah. Well, it was just like, just when you're like, man, it feels so weird. And then he said he got in touch with her, and I'd never really known the whole story.
No, I knew nothing. I knew she left. I didn't know anything beyond that. I didn't know it was a 30-year Hollywood, scandal
story.
Of some sort. Yeah.
How was that not I guess we were just maybe too young and not paying attention to the Hollywood beat.
Right. And well, we didn't have Facebook or social media back then either to,
Yeah, it would have been cancel Aunt Viv or cancel Will Smith.
Right. But Aunt Viv was trending yesterday. But that was a really great. Yeah, Michael, he asked her to come, and he privately met with her, or whatever, and hashed it out after 27 years or whatever.
Yeah. And good on him. Good on him for, owning up to it.
I mean, he did, but he didn't. Honestly, I feel like he didn't do enough because, he did. I'm not bragging on, but I felt like he really was the problem. Yeah, back then. He was too young to understand anything she was going through.
And that's what I mean. Like, when I say owning up to it, I mean, he acknowledged now that he didn't make the best decision there.
Right.
Whether he knew or not, he did not do justice to that, to that actress. He didn't know what was going on, and he just he was on the verge of being a superstar. And it was just kind of like, okay, I'm bigger. I'm going to be bigger than you ever will be. And we'll just move on.
Yeah, it was touching, but it also felt like as someone who doesn't know the story, they didn't really go into it. Like, so I don't, not that they needed to recap all the dirty laundry or whatever, but it's like, wait, why was she mad at you? So I never quite still got the story beyond he was the star and got some,
Her contract was up. They made her an offer, and she turned it down because she thought it wasn't enough money. And apparently she was in a bad marriage, and she had just been pregnant and had a new child, a new baby, and
he's totally unsympathetic to any of that, of course. Yeah. But it was money, and she, which it was neat to watch back when they first were showing clips of her when they started that segment, and you're like, she was super talented.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she was the superior Aunt Viv.
And like, those are the only clips I remember. Like the young kid that was in the later seasons, I don't remember him. I must have stopped watching it.
You must
at some point.
Yeah.
So I don't remember those later seasons at all.
It took me back. I had to think because exactly. I remember the first 3 seasons, and then right about that point, like I think Will and Carlton moved to like the pool house, and like it kind of it was on the backward slide from there.
Right.
It was still good, but
took apart Carlton's motorcycle.
Right.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to make some sort of correlation there. Yeah, but they were. I bawled my eyes out. All the stuff with
the James Avery was
all that stuff. Watching behind the scenes things, and just that kind of stuff. It's just like, and them capturing how big of a historically it was for television, and a black cast and everything. So
I think they mentioned there were only 3 black TV shows on network television at the time. So, and they were the biggest one.
Yeah, took you through their week, how they got the script, and then found, they got to voice, a black person would never say this, or, she wouldn't talk to her father that way. And they got to adjust things and make it their own, which is
That's something else I thought was missing a little bit from this, is like the behind the scenes. Who was writing these shows? Who was producing it? Like, were there people of color behind the scenes more than just a handful? Like, it didn't really go into any of that.
Probably not.
Or who the voices were. So
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like they all had a handle on their place in history and just what this meant and what it meant to fans back then and today. So yeah, it seemed like they all kind of understood. It wasn't just some dumb TV show they did ages ago. Like, it seemed like they kind of got a grasp on what they had.
Good stuff.
What else you watching?
Something else you can watch on Christmas Day. It will be Alex Trebek's final episode of Jeopardy.
Ooh.
He filmed his last batch of them. They've been running through. Each one's had a, at the end of each episode here recently, the past week, it said, dedicated to Alex Trebek, and they've made mention of it, but he made enough that his very last one will air on Christmas.
Yeah, we've never watched a lot of that syndicated game shows since we've had kids and stuff. It's we're usually eating dinner at that hour, or I'm coming home from work or whatever. But here lately, Carly really enjoys Jeopardy, and so when I come home, I've been trying to, if I remember, I flip it on over, and we've been watching a little bit of Jeopardy here lately, and it's been fun. It's it's just fun. She's in 8th grade now, and she's, some answers she can get now, and she's shouting stuff out, and I shout, wrong answers a lot, but much like trivia night last night, but we've enjoyed it. So I did see that the Christmas Day is going to be the last. There's a lot of speculation going around about who the new host will be.
Barton.
Yeah, there was a petition going around that LeVar Burton from Reading Rainbow and
Star Trek.
In fact, he even tweeted out about it, just, thanking people that they would think of him for that. So,
yeah, I guess at one point I thought Ken Jennings would be good, and Nick said, he was like, you have to have a personality. I was like, Ken Jennings is hilarious and not just smart. He's very funny. He would be great at it. But I saw a clip of Alex saying, they said, who do you think would take over when you're done? And he was very clear that he thought it should be a woman. And so I've heard no talk of any women. I've heard George Stephanopoulos, I've heard LeVar Burton, but I've not heard any women's names.
Yeah.
So
what's the British lady from The Weakest Link doing?
Yeah.
Phrase it in the form of a question, you moron.
They could bring back the dunce cap from Win Ben Stein's Money.
Who is the weakest link?
So yeah.
And the other little bit of news we had of a TV icon, Conan O'Brien, is ending his show on TBS in June. After 10 years on the network, 30-some years on the air now, I think. He's moving to HBO Max. Yes.
I'll try anything. How many millions of dollars did they throw at him?
Yeah, so he's going to do a weekly variety series. So it's not going to be the normal, typical talk show thing. It's going to be a variety series. I'm sure music and comedy and who knows, but I would look forward to something new. I said the talk show format's been around since the 50s. It's you do a monologue, a little comedy bit, talk to somebody, have a musical guest. Like, We can shake that up. We can shake it up.
Yeah. He's
Please.
changed it up a little bit. Like I've noticed on his TBS show, he no longer wears a suit. It's a little bit more casual. But
I've been watching a lot more since quarantine because there's something, he might do something you don't expect. Yeah.
I listened to his podcast he's been doing called Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. And it's a lot of fun because he can say whatever he wants, and kind of he can be a little bit more off the cuff and a little bit, he can be more vulgar. He can just have fun with it. And you can kind of tell on that show, like he is just having fun again. So I wondered how much of that influenced his like, oh, I'm going to go do a variety show now. I'll just do whatever I want.
Yeah, he's built up a whole network of podcast shows of all his friends and coworkers and comedians that he likes. Like he's kind of cultivated an entire podcast domain. Right. Team Coco. I said TBS is still going to air the Conan Without Borders specials. So if he makes a few of those a year, I'm guessing those will still be on TBS, but everything else will be on HBO. And in a statement, O'Brien said, quote, "In 1993, Johnny Carson gave me the best advice of my career. As soon as possible, get to a streaming platform." So there's...
So there you go.
Well, I'm just going to burn through a few things I watched. On HBO Max, there's some show called How To with John Wilson. Apparently some sort of comedian or whatever. It feels very Nathan For You. If you've ever watched Nathan For You, it's produced by Nathan, and it's just this guy like talking to people on the street and stuff, and just like Nathan would, but he just like first episode I think was how to make small talk, and he like tries to make small talk with people, but they're like telling him all their problems, and he's like, no, I'm trying to make small talk. And then and there's like how to all about scaffolding, and then another one's like how to cover your furniture. I skipped the fourth episode. I think one, maybe no, that might have been the one. I don't know. There's one where there's a naked guy, and there is a naked guy, and I did not want to see all that. One was about like the Mandela effect, and it was all like talking to all these crazy people that believe in that stuff, and that reminded me of Michael like big time.
Yeah,
it was like all these people that just believe that stuff and like having meetings and stuff. So that was kind of funny. Something else I watched on Netflix, a huge hit, extreme hit that I'm sure you've heard of, The Queen's Gambit.
Men are going to come along and want to teach you things. Doesn't make them any smarter. You just let them blow by, and you go on ahead and do just what and how you feel like. Someday you're going to be all alone, so you need to figure out how to take care of yourself. Tell the readers of life how it feels and to be a girl among all those men.
I don't mind it. Chess isn't always competitive. Chess can also be beautiful.
You're an orphan, Beth.
I'm fine being alone. I feel safe in an entire world of just 64 squares.
How creativity and psychosis often go hand in hand. Or for that matter.
Anya Taylor-Joy playing chess, and she's, it's a beautiful show, and everybody's acting like it's the greatest thing that ever happened. And my vote is that it is extremely fine, and she's pretty, and it's a pleasant show to watch. There's almost nobody there's like no antagonist.
Yeah,
she's playing chess, and everybody that you think would be against her just wants to help her. It's like there's just no problems almost ever. Anybody you think is a problem isn't.
Michael,
so that's weird.
Did you watch
Super
this?
Weird.
Mm-mm.
Did Christy watch it by chance?
No, I don't think so.
I watched the first episode. But my wife ended up, she kind of binged it in a couple days, and she really liked it. I mean, like really liked it. And
I know people love it.
Yeah, it was getting high praise. And I only watched that first episode, and I was just kind of
I enjoyed it because I like it. I like things like competition, things like that, and I like chess. It was neat to watch them play chess. They don't really explain a lot of it.
Yeah.
It's really not about that. It's not about the actual playing of the chess. It's about playing against the other person, playing off of what they're doing. And but again, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful show, and it's a comforting show to watch. Like you're not like stressing out ever. So I guess that must be what a lot of people like. I also watched the documentary series. I think it's like 4 episodes. The Challenger Final Flight on Netflix, talking about the Challenger. Like we said before, that's one of the things you remember. We remember in our generation, September 11th and the Challenger. I was in 8th grade, sat in the back of the class, but that's where the TV got wheeled into and turned around, front row seat for that baby blowing up and that fat lady teacher running over and shutting the TV off so fast.
that's
There
weird.
was stuff I did not know. So if you have interest in this, and I did not know a lot. I didn't like delve into it at the time, but there was a lot of controversy about that apparently. So if you are interested in that, there's some real messed up people involved in that. Like some people, some things happened, and I'm sure mistakes were made, but there's some people just have no regrets about anything they did, and they come off really badly. It's like, so it's interesting to watch if you're into the space stuff.
Yeah, I remember I was in 1st grade, and weirdly the same experience. I remember the TV cart being rolled in.
Oh yeah.
And watching it, and then I think they just I have a vivid memory of that just being replayed all day.
Oh,
they just showed it over and over and over, and I'm in 1st grade, and we're just watching it over and over.
The Christmas story, Ralphie is involved in this story.
Really?
Yes. So
Peter Billingsley,
whatever his name is. Yes, the guy, Ralphie.
Yeah.
He is involved.
The actor.
Yes. So if that didn't draw you in, I don't know what, Cliff. Come on.
I'm there.
The last thing I was going to say, some huge news I actually feel like I wish I would have led with in reality TV. A week or so ago, CBS announced that for 3 of their shows, Survivor, Big Brother, and Love Island, that they pledge to, from now on, have 50% people of color cast in these shows. Which is what I complained about.
Somebody listens to this.
It's never
podcast.
going to be fair until they do that. And they pledged that from now on, they said. So that's huge. That's huge news that they would pledge to do that. So that's great. It's going to change the whole thing. That's all I got. So sorry for monopolizing.
Michael, what do you got?
I started watching that on HBO. Oh, speaking of HBO Max, it's leaving Amazon next year's Fire Stick. And it's HBO's fault. They're not allowing that to be on Amazon, on the Fire Stick, their TVs and stuff. They want to.
We just announced it went on there, I thought.
I know. They're taking it off
already.
Breaking news to you from us.
It only lasted the length of this podcast.
Dude, at least it was the same episode. Wow.
Yeah, it updated 3 hours ago.
Yep.
In a confession to Warner Media, Amazon will remove HBO from Amazon channels next year.
Wow, we did it.
I wish that I'd have been like, HBO is going down, Amazon. And they were like, nope, that's gone.
Breaking news. But anyway, you guys are talking about, it's been a while ago, but I just finally got around to watching that Lovecraftian show.
Yeah.
And I've only gotten the first episode. It was really good. I really enjoyed it.
It's a good episode.
You're going to be highly disappointed.
Yeah. Second
Second
episode, no. Third episode, yes. Fourth episode, no.
No one talked about that show after the first couple weeks.
I
haven't heard anything about it.
I never finished it.
This is going to sound horribly wrong, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Oh boy.
It's probably not going to.
Can we say goodbye?
Right.
Let's
But
sign off first.
I love the way they dealt with racism in that episode.
Yeah.
Because
Why does that sound weird?
Well, I mean, you can say, "Oh, you love racism." Well,
Michael Michael loves
Oh,
racism.
we're big on cutting up what you say.
Yeah.
But you don't mess it up.
I love the way they ran those people out of town. Is that what you're saying?
I love how they ran them out of town. And
But again, it makes me think a lot of times with like Stephen King novels and stuff. You get into the reality horror is much more scarier than the
fantasy.
The fantasy. But anyway, I love the way they dealt with that in that first episode, and in how you forget that really wasn't that long ago. But hopefully, well, obviously, I'm going to get disappointed as it goes on. So
it could end great. We just don't know.
Michael, you segued too good for me to not bring up that I read a book
about racism.
It's a Stephen King book, and I had mentioned that Mr. Mercedes show and that there was a trilogy, and I'd read the first book. I was going to read the second and third before I got to finish that show, and so I read the second book. I liked it even more than the first book, was enjoying the heck out of it, and then the last paragraph, like setting up the next book, just was the worst paragraph I've ever read. Was so bad. It makes me not even want to read the next book. Only because the first two books, there's like, I haven't read, there's like not supernatural stuff going on. It's, or the show. There was like no supernatural. Like the second book, nothing until the end. And it's setting up like some supernatural stuff that is totally unnecessary. He had a good thing going. It's old detective and all this stuff, and he just blew it. He's just got to do it. He's got to do it.
Well, speaking of Stephen King.
Oh, right back at me. I lobbed it up.
Has anyone seen the previous? Is this HBO Max also The Stand? The remaking of The Stand miniseries that's coming out?
I want to say you're right.
Yeah,
I think it might be, yeah.
I'm curious to see if it's going to be as good as it once was, I guess.
I'm hearing no, but we're gonna have to wait and see.
I feel like if this was done this way maybe 10, 15 years ago, it would be a huge hit. But with shows like The Walking Dead and all the other like post-apocalyptic shows that have been so popular, I don't know if it's going to be that great.
Yeah, I don't know.
Google says CBS All Access.
Oh, that's right.
CBS.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes, where I watch my Star Trek. That's why I know it.
That's how we knew it.
Yep.
Well, see, I thought he was going to say, speaking of Supernatural the series.
The segues are flying fast and furious.
The last episode just aired this week.
Never saw one.
Season 15, I do believe.
Longest running
CW show. Yeah. And
I saw a single episode. Totally.
Before that, it was Smallville.
Yeah, it came out when because the Jensen Ackles was originally on Smallville, and even way back then, guys, 15 years ago, guess what? The CW was using actors from one show to the other. So maybe he'll pop up on Riverdale this year.
Yeah, actually, I've watched Supernatural up to I think maybe the 7th or 8th season, maybe.
You're not halfway done.
Yeah, about halfway.
You've watched 7 seasons and you're not halfway done. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's actually a pretty good show, honestly.
It's got a diehard fan base.
Oh, yeah, people love it.
Yeah, I saw some headlines about, apparently there was a big character death in the finale. So, just throwing it out there.
Well, I just got my Suddenlink bill and they cranked it up $20 extra. So I wanted to make sure we recorded tonight, and then I'm going to call them and see if I can finagle something. But I got to be able to cancel I got to have that in my back pocket to be able to I got to tell them I can cancel and not be bluffing. So I wanted to be sure we got our recording done tonight before I tempted the Suddenlink gods. But so my Showtime access is in the air. I'll have to let you know if I keep the same package or not. I can keep all this Showtime.
We need to know.
Things are happening.
But they finished. The Good Lord Bird ended. The Western abolitionist show with Ethan Hawke. 7 episodes, really, really good. They just started a documentary about the Reagans.
I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan said himself, if you are not a good actor, you cannot be a good president.
You would not have gotten elected president without Nancy.
Your position's made it impossible.
Doing everything we can.
My father was kind of a strange fellow to be president of the United States.
There's nothing like being in the saddle all day.
He was a caricature out of American culture.
Nancy was the presence over everything.
There he is.
People were afraid of her.
Ronald Reagan lived in a world he created, what the ideal couple would look like.
When the red light went on the camera, he was superb.
We just made sure that he never got off script.
Have a responsibility, you. You are a liar.
It was our job to protect him from himself.
With regard to the
really solid. Like the first episode was about him. He's a liberal Hollywood actor, and then he gets kind of roped into conservative politics, and how much is just what he believes is it a performance of an actor, or is he really convinced of these things? So, for being a very huge cultural figure in my lifetime, I don't know that much about Ronald Reagan or Nancy Reagan. So
all you need to know is he was evil.
Nancy was the one kind of pulling the strings, according to this documentary. She had a lot more to do with it.
Also, I do believe, current events, the election that just happened, I do believe drugs finally won the war on drugs.
Right.
So congrats.
Great job, drugs. I voted for you. I voted for you, drugs.
And I checked out Disney Plus, even more than The Mandalorian. I've actually started kind of looking through it a little bit.
Nice.
Because I saw an ad for something. I was just watching Community, and my love of Gillian Jacobs just keeps growing and growing. And I saw something about Gillian Jacobs doing this Marvel documentary. I'm like, what is that about? Is she a comic fan, or what is this? So I didn't know what this was, but it's called Marvel 616. Described as an anthology documentary series that explores the cultural, societal, and historical impacts of the Marvel Universe and its intersection with the everyday world. So it's basically 8 episodes. Each one's by a different filmmaker, and it's on Disney Plus, so it's going to be very rah Marvel, rah Disney, and all the great stuff we produce here at Disney. But I watched 2 of them. One was Gillian Jacobs, and it was all about like the women of Marvel, and from those early bullpen days of Fabulous Flo Steinberg and Marie Severin, and the kind of the unappreciated artists back in the day, and up through Ms. Marvel and Kamala Khan becoming a huge new character, and all the women getting work today at Marvel. And then the other one I watched was Paul Scheer, the comedian. It was basically a documentary about him trying to pitch a show to Disney Plus. So it was him, and this one was a little more comedic. So some of the stuff was obviously staged, but it's him going in and talking to the executives of like, find something unique and think out of the box, and a character you can make your own. So he goes and interviews several Marvel insiders and like asks them, what are some really obscure characters? So they talk about, US1, the trucker comic from the 70s. Some really obscure oddball Marvel history and characters that you maybe not know if you just know the movies. And he settles on Brute Force, the 4 animals.
Yeah, I actually had issue 1 of that.
It was a 4-issue miniseries. but it's animals with cybernetic attachments.
One's a dolphin.
A dolphin, a bear, a kangaroo, a lion. And like it was basically it said Marvel was so successful turning toys into comics. It thought, well, what if we do a comic that could then become a toy? So they basically made a comic that could easily be adapted into a toy, and nobody cared. So it's basically Paul Scheer like a deep dive into brute force and how he could turn that into a cartoon for Disney Plus. So those are the two I watched today. The other ones involve, there's one about different artists working for Marvel, one about the writers. There's one all about the Japanese Spider-Man TV show from the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And it interviews the creative staff and the actors from that. There's one about cosplayers, an episode about toys, and one episode about the series of stage plays they have produced. Marvel has this program where they've written plays for high schools. So high school kids can put on these Marvel characters as these stage plays. So that might be an interesting one to take a look at. But I picked the two that I thought would be most interesting, and I enjoyed them both. So it's Disney propaganda. It's a big ad for more Disney stuff, but it was fun to watch as a Marvel.
Except
fanboy.
your place as subject in the system. Where you consume what the overlord feeds you.
Nobody does propaganda like Disney.
1/4 portion.
Now, Jordan, going back to Showtime, have you checked out Moonbase 8?
Yeah, that just premiered.
Is that what John
C.
Reilly?
Fred Armisen?
Yeah. John C. Reilly, Fred Armisen, and Tim Heidecker are they're hopefuls to be astronauts. So it's basically them living in a fake NASA camp in Arizona, and just going through the training and trying to be. So it's kind of sweet. There wasn't anything for those three actors. I thought it's going to be edgy and kind of dirty, but it seemed kind of like family friendly. Like
I haven't seen it,
the
but
humor was very gentle. I don't mean that as a criticism, but
I can picture Fred Armisen doing his very earnest. Oh, yeah. Well, we're gonna need to do it,
Yeah. So yeah, it was not the best thing I've watched this year, but that cast is terrific. So it's been the first 2 episodes have aired so far.
I feel like there's a lot of space NASA stuff out there right now. I talked about a few episodes ago. I'm still watching that Nat Geo series on Disney Plus, the right stuff, and then we just had the big. My social media was full of the Dragon X launch with the astronauts the other day.
We're all trying to get out of here, man.
That's what it is.
Reach for the stars.
That's what it's not that long ago, but I had listened to this podcast series that it was like 8 episodes, and it was about like, I feel like it was on a mountain in Hawaii where they like acted like that was the closest thing to Mars. And I think it was like 8 people they put in like a biosphere, and they had to act like they were on the planet Mars for like 6 months maybe, to see how they interacted and everything they did, like going out and all of like the aspects of it. They had to act like they were on the planet Mars the whole entire time.
Astronaut.
And you listen to it, and you just watch them all break down, interacting with each other, and like things breaking the biosphere and who hooked up, and like on the very last day there, like I think the guy's playing like a ukulele, and they're just all freaking out like, can you not play this right now? And he's just over there strumming away. I mean, they're ready to kill each other.
This would be that. You would be that guy. You would be the one guy that's like, "This is great." Like playing your ukulele and
like
that's why I can't buy Star Trek as humanity's future. We're never gonna get there. We're never gonna get along. Be one peaceful coalition.
Those are on big starships. These are close quarters. They're super tight. Like if we have big open spaces, it can happen.
There was a similar episode of Netflix's Space Force
I thought that was hilarious.
And yeah, it kind of ends that way with Steve Carell. He drives them all crazy, and then he breaks down, and yeah.
Just want to leave.
Space man.
Did we ever? Is Space Force still a thing after Biden takes over?
That's a very good question.
That is a good question.
Like, do they have to keep funding it? And like,
how about let's try healthcare force?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for
like
reaching for the stars, but
yeah, it just seemed kind of like invented on the fly. So, like, does he have to keep pretending and going along with it?
Yeah.
Aren't they part of the Air Force?
No. No, they weren't. I thought the same thing, but no, it was supposed to be a separate branch of the military.
Keep selling T-shirts and hats and memorabilia.
Yeah. Logo that looks just like Star Trek.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's a crazy world.
Wouldn't that be great if Paramount sued United States military?
Yes.
That'd be awesome.
Yes. Would be great.
One last lawsuit for Trump before he leaves office. That's what finally brings him down.
Yep.
Paramount.
Yep. We're gonna need that lapel pin, sir.
Intellectual property.
Wow.
TV.
I went off the rails with that one.
What's better than TV? Not much.
Not reality.
Video games.
Well, I feel like I got it out of my system tonight. Only took about 3 hours.
Good.
So, coming up soon is episode 250.
And boy, do we have something for you guys.
Whoa. And as soon as we know what it is, we will let you know.
It's going to be great.
So, if you've stuck around with us for this long, wow.
Congrats.
Thank you. You did it. Maybe we did it, but we couldn't have did it without you. So thank you very much. Is that it? We done?
That works for me.
Okay, that's good. We're done. We're professional and we're done. And my name is Jordan Lowe.
Cliff Barnes.
The partial existing Michael K. Easton.
So you guys should let me kill your mom. I'm Seth. Goodbye forever.
Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udamwithkpp.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a comment. Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. You can connect with us through social media on Facebook, YouTube, at the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter, or email the show, Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, @gmail.com. If you really want to go the extra mile, please sign up to be a patron through the Podbean app or our website, www.udamwithkpp.com, to receive special content and early access to some episodes. We are grateful to anyone that chooses to contribute, but please know that most of our content will always remain free, so please continue to like, comment, and share.